This question says, elements that have loose electrons available for the flow of electricity are known as which of the following? Diodes, insulators, noble gases, conductors, or radioactive metals. So let's go through these one at a time, discuss what they are, and then see which one fits the bill. So we can start with diodes, and diodes are actually a type of semiconductor device that restrict current flow in one direction. So these are very useful devices, as you might imagine, and they may be made of elements that are described by the question, but they themselves do not fit the bill here. So A is not correct. Then we have insulators, and actually, insulators are essentially the opposite of what we're looking for. We're looking to see which of these, A through E, describes an element that has loose electrons available for the flow of electricity. So, in other words, materials where electricity can flow freely. So insulators, again, are essentially the opposite. These are materials that restrict or prevent or inhibit current flow. So for this reason, B, insulators, is also not correct. Then we have the noble gases. So this is group 18 in the periodic table, the one the furthest to the right. And these include elements like helium or argon, krypton, among several others that many of us are likely to be familiar with. And they're probably most famous for their non-reactivity. They're essentially totally unreactive, totally inert. We've actually learned in recent years that some of the noble gases actually can form interesting compounds and therefore can be involved in a chemical reaction, but for the most part, the noble gases are totally inert. Then this brings us to D, conductors. Now, conductors are essentially the opposite of insulators. And we already said that insulators are essentially the opposite of what we're looking for. So, by a little bit of clever deduction, we can determine already that conductors is the correct answer. But why is this the case? Well, conductors are indeed elements that have loose electrons available for the flow of electricity. These are metals that are essentially a sea of electrons, and some of those electrons are available to flow. And that flow of electrons is electricity. So again, for this reason, the correct answer is D. But then lastly, we have E, which we should cover just to make clear. Radioactive metals are materials with unstable atomic nuclei, and as a consequence, in their quest for stability, they will emit radioactive particles or electromagnetic radiation in some cases. So these are fascinating subatomic systems to consider, but they do not fit the bill of a conductor. So E is not correct. And again, therefore, the correct answer is D.